Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English 101, our final week, week 7. Get my hands in here right. Um, I wanted to send along a short video along with my comments on the first draft of your MLA research essays. And I'm going to be honest with you, I am quite concerned about those first drafts and hoping for some significant revision between now and Tuesday when they are due. Just a reminder, we have 2 significant projects left. We have the MLA research essay portfolios. The last day to submit both of those is Tuesday, August 17th by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, you do also need to turn the final draft of your LE2. A couple of you have done that already, and I think that's a wise move. Get that behind you so you can just work on your final draft of the MLA research essay and then begin the portfolio. A word about the portfolio. It does take about 3 hours to assemble. It's not something you want to leave till Tuesday evening. You have to select the assignments, essays, whatever you choose to include with it. And you also have to comment on those in some detail. So it does take planning as well. But regarding the MLA research essay, because I have results that are just kind of all over the board right now, I want to go back to the instructions. So let's take a look at those. I'm in the week 6 folder. I've got them open already. And first of all, I just want to remind you, text does need to be a minimum of 6 full pages. I would say only half the class met that requirement, maybe only a third. So there's substantial writing left to do. You do need at least 6 to 8 sources. They must come from GRCC OneSearch or databases. And please use the citation tool. Some of you are trying to create your works cited entries from scratch, but if you look on the pages, you'll see kind of a box with a quotation mark in it, and it'll say cite now or citation or cite. It's all been done for you for the most part. There's no reason to recreate all that. It is the best thing about doing research. So use that tool to your advantage when you find a good source. Just a reminder that we do need an attention-getting beginning that does use one of the techniques to the link in the UNC Writing Center. We practice this. We do want a persuasive thesis. So keep in mind your essay isn't just a report, like maybe you wrote about how a law or a bill becomes a law in high school, or the stages of metamorphosis for a butterfly or a frog. Those are largely just explanatory things. You need to be persuasive. So if you're writing about solar energy, you don't want to just explain solar energy. You want to be persuasive about it. Is it affordable? Why should we use it? Is it worth the money? Does it work in Michigan? I've had that question for a long time. So you want to address those kinds of issues in your essays. It's not so essential you explain the detail of every process involved. So that's an important part of the thesis as well. Some of you had questions for your thesis, but by definition, a thesis is a statement. It cannot be a question. So if you have that question, follow it with your answer. That's the main point you want to make after all your research is done. You should always address counter arguments. Otherwise, your essay comes off as biased. And then, of course, the thoughtful conclusion from the Harvard Writing Center. Again, beginnings and conclusions were pretty weak overall, and I wasn't obviously grabbing onto a conclusion technique or a beginning technique. So one of the things I posted, and you should really read it immediately, read it tonight or whenever you open this message if you haven't already, is I wrote a MLA research essay with my students about 3 summers ago. It was a small class. We had about 8, 9 people in it. Let me just show you that. It's also in the week 6 folder. So this is a question I had, which was, how can we make cycling safer in Michigan? And what I discovered, it's really all about space. So let me change my view here. You can see, that I've met the requirements. I even have some illustrations if you want to use those. Those are fine. They just go after your works cited page. They aren't counted as part of your text. Here I've got my at least 6 to 8 sources here. But the nice thing about it is that if you look a little closer, let me go back to page view. Oops. One more here. Let's see here. Oh, I guess I just got to zoom. Here we go. You'll see that I use a beginning technique, which is a short, powerful story, a true story, happened not too long ago. I have my thesis, but there are many good examples how to give credit. For example, like here's a source I use for the first time. So I introduce them by name before the quote. I come back to them a couple times, and that's where we get to use the easy out. I have some indirect quotes in here, I believe. Here's Doug Landau, who suffered a TBI, traumatic brain injury, but he's quoted in my source by Halloran. And this was a big issue. Some of you had sources, I could not find them anywhere in your text. Or vice versa, you cited a name in your text and I couldn't find it in your works cited. Think of your citations in the text and your works cited as an equation that needs to balance. Whatever's in the text needs to be in the works cited. Whatever's in the works cited needs to be in the text clearly. You can't just say an article, mention a name if it's in your text, but if that doesn't show up in the works cited, then your reader and I don't have any idea where it goes. So be careful with that. And I've tried to point out in very, very detailed comments wherever I could when that happens. I think I even have a block quote in here. Let's see here. Here we go, from Carol Tan. Notice that this is a pretty good sized block quote. It's indented. There, ironically, are no quotation marks around it. I've introduced it from Tan here. Here's the deal. You only get one block quote. And usually I'll say, 5 or 6 lines. I got a couple block quotes that were half a page, and I'm sorry, you can't do that. Not in an MLA research essay. That's you're just filling space at that point. And the essay is really about you and the research in synthesizing. So we need more of your writing than just big block quotes. So if you have that situation, I probably pointed that out, and you'll know what to do with that. You'll need to get rid of one of them, shorten them, all those other kinds of things as well. And then getting into the works cited, or excuse me, the conclusion first. And let me get a little further here. So in this one, I talked about my own personal experience and set it in a larger context, all the things that have happened to me as I've been writing. And basically trying to put it in a larger context, we can actually convince everyone that writing and being mindful while you're riding and driving and being mindful while you're driving really makes everyone safer. Cyclists, pedestrians, motorists alike. It's a hard thing to get people to be mindful today when there are so many distractions, but I really think that's what it boils down to. So at any rate, I've got my comments attached along with this short video. Please, please, please read through them. What I recommend is you actually take my Word document and use that as you start your final draft. You can always go in and delete my comments at the end, or as you go through, you just go to comments and there'll be a thing for delete. You can get rid of them all there. But the thing is, I've often put corrections that you can just slide over much more easily into that document that I've given to you. And I've been trying to find ways how I can help everyone. And it's like, if you want to start with what I gave you, that's fine. And a couple of you really should, because your formatting was really wonky. And I was able to help you out, give you kind of a fresh start with that. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know sooner than later. This will be my last message to all of you in this format, at least. And I wish you the best. I want to thank you for all your work in a grueling 7-week class. I mean, people forget that a 7-week class isn't easier, doesn't have fewer assignments. It's just a compressed version of a 15-week class. And I spoke with more than one of you who were like surprised by that. And yeah, talk to your advisors about that. I think GRCC advisors don't really prepare students enough for what a 7-week course can be. At any rate, I will be at the new Lakeshore campus this fall in Holland. I've got 3 courses there, 2 English 101s and 1 English 102. If you happen to be in there or taking some classes and you see this guy with a bald mug walking around, please stop and say hi. Say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I always love to meet students. It's been something I've missed for a long time. Not sure how this is all going to go in the fall. If we'll stay in person, I sure hope so. Probably going to be masked up but sure would be nice to get in a classroom, and I know a lot of you shared those same sentiments as well. One last thing I always tell people when you've been in my class, it's like being in a gang, and I mean that in a positive way. Once you're in for life. So if you ever need a recommendation, you want to run some text by me, you have a thesis idea, you have an MLA or APA question, feel free to drop me an email or a short message. Just got one from a student about a month ago who wanted me to write a recommendation letter for her, and I said I'd be happy to do that. She said, "Do you even remember me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." So I'm always happy to help my students out for that. So at any rate, thank you again for your work. I wish you the best success at JRCC and beyond that as well. Peace to you all.